Hello. Just gonna give you guys a couple minutes for people to show up. And I have to continue getting my ingredients out, so let me know if you can hear me once you're in here. I'm just gonna get some eggs and the ingredients for these. Hello. How are you doing this morning? Figured I probably need some eggs. Let me adjust this a little bit. Let's see. Okay, good. You can hear me. Do you guys? Hello, Jennifer. Do you guys have Instant Pots? Because if so, I'm going to show how I hard cook eggs with the Instant Pot and also how I cook them on the stovetop, because for years and years I was team stovetop, and I have a group of, like a cooking group online of friends that I've known for like 15 years probably, and I've met several of them in person, but we had this big like egg cooker, no egg cooker debate. Do you have one? Do you not? What's your method? And I was like, I'm never buying an egg cooker. That's ridiculous. And then Instant Pot came out, and I saw all the great things it does, and I love making hard cooked, soft cooked eggs in them. It's great. So that's my go-to method now, but I realize not everybody has one. No Instant Pot. I use it. I'm not like selling this. I mean, it's in my Amazon shop, but if you are considering it, let me know. I can give you my whole, like, what I love about it. You can do so much. Team stovetop. I was team stovetop for a long time too. That's fine. I have a bunch of deviled egg platters. Thank you for voting, by the way, on what I was going to make today. My son's actually spending the night at Grandma Grandpa's tonight, and his grandpa, hi Janine, who's definitely not watching from work. I'm going out for, it's Hudson Valley Restaurant Week here in the Hudson Valley, which is in New York. I'm about 45 minutes north of New York City by train. So we're dropping my son off with Grandma and Grandpa tonight for a slumber party so we can enjoy ourselves, and my father-in-law loves deviled eggs. So they're going to be the lucky recipients of this, and I mean, I'm going to have some too, but I took out 2 of my deviled egg trays. I just wanted to show you. Actually, I should probably start cooking the eggs, but quickly. This was my grandma's, Helen. I made her sugar cookies last week. This is like vintage Tupperware deviled egg taker. It's probably full of chemicals and who knows what, because it's likely older than me. But it's my favorite. It makes me think of her. This is my version of her recipe. So, hi Rob. I did say deviled eggs. I am always down for deviled eggs, and I have like a list of spins on deviled eggs that I want to make to post soon. I have more ideas than time, which is good, but I'm going to keep surveying you guys to see what you want me to cook on Fridays, because when I'm able to, this is a good time for me. It's a great way to end the week. I'm going to close my email, so hopefully that won't beep at you guys. So this is going to go to my in-laws' house tonight, full of deviled eggs. And with this one, if you see some of the older deviled egg recipes on my website, they call for 9 eggs. This holds 8 whole eggs, so 16 deviled eggs. I throw in an extra one for in case there's not enough filling, and also QC, because it's delicious. So this is one of the containers that I use. I used to have an egg-shaped, like a giant egg with egg holes that was great. It didn't sound very nice, but egg holes. And then I have this Le Creuset I got for a sponsored post I worked on with them in Stonyfield a while back, where I made French-inspired deviled eggs. So they had like tarragon and some pretty garnishes, but this one holds a full dozen eggs, 24, fantastic. So you could make a whole dozen plus another set for the to-go thing. Keep that in the fridge, because if your family's like mine, we tear through deviled eggs and there's never too many. So, all right, let's check in. Do I ship? I don't know how deviled eggs would hold up in there, but all right, so I'm gonna do half of the eggs in my Instant Pot and half of them on the stovetop. And oh, good, you can see that one. All right, so For those of you making it in the stovetop, what I like to do is saucepan. I'm going to put 6 in here. I use large eggs. I happen to really like Nellie's or Pete and Jerry's. They're like the organic free range eggs. They're very nice. If you have a local farm, like the yolks just taste so much better. So we're going to cover this by at least an inch or 2 with water, cold water. Side note, put in the comments if you dressed up for Halloween, what were you? Because I love Halloween. I don't know if you know that about me, but it's my favorite. I made Cocoa Crispy treats with marshmallow spider webs and stuff for my son's class as a treat, and I put little like fake gold spiders on them that were toys. They loved it. Okay, so I have 6 eggs in water in this pan. I'm just going to add a little pinch of salt, and my grandma always used white vinegar. She said it helped keep the egg shells from sticking. I don't know if it does, but it doesn't hurt, so I just put a little bit in there. And then I'm going to put it on the stovetop, bring it up to a boil. You want a rapid boil, so not just a couple bubbles, like you really want it to be boiling. And then I'll put the lid on it, turn the heat off, and let it sit for at least 10 minutes. It can sit for longer. It's not a big deal. So this is going to go on over here. My stove has that particular burner has something called power boil. It makes things boil a lot faster, so I don't know why. But whoever invented that technology, it's awesome for pasta night. Okay, so Instant Pot. Got a little holder over here for the lid, which is good for me working with a small space. I keep all of the accessories inside it while I'm not using it, and I don't let anybody put the things that are inside in the base unless this is in, because I don't want to damage the elements or anything. So it's got a plug. You can, if you don't know what an Instant Pot is, it's basically a slow cooker, pressure cooker, rice cooker, yogurt maker combo. It does all sorts of stuff, and it's really great. You can sear right in it. So like I'll make pot roast, and when I do pot roast in a slow cooker, I don't want to dirty a dish to sear it on the stove and then put it in. So you can sear it right in here, and then you switch modes and put the lid on and pressure cook it, and it's incredible. So I'm going to take the base. This came with mine. I think the newer ones are a different shape, but it's a trivet. You can also use like one of those steamer trays if you have it. So just put that in the bottom and put the eggs on top of it. After I put in, this is the little measuring cup that came with, I'm going to put in 1 cup of water. Hi, Amy! Guys, my sister-in-law, I have the cutest niece. I was video chatting with her a little bit earlier today. She's awesome. And I'm having a new one on the way from them, not from me, in January, so that'll be fun. Also, worth noting, I had talked about this before. This is for the release valve that my husband got me to kind of aim the steam. It hasn't worked out great for me, so I'm on the fence. I don't know that I recommend this yet. I thought I was going to, but I don't know. All right, so we've got 6 eggs on the stovetop, 6 eggs on the going into the Instant Pot on the trivet with a cup of water in there. Now, your time to cook might vary slightly. I know a lot of people online have different methods, what works best for them with their Instant Pot. For me, just recycle it. For me, I like doing 9 minutes on high pressure. That way I know, especially for deviled eggs, I know that the yolk is cooked all the way through, and it's easier to like mash it up and fill it. Because if it's slightly undercooked, normally, great, I love runny eggs. But, and you can do soft-boiled eggs in here, in the shell, and then you can save them, keep them in the fridge, and then just kind of run them over underneath warm water. Hi, Maria! You run them underneath warm water when you want to serve them, and you can put them in like instant ramen noodles, and then you put like a fresh or leftover soft-boiled egg. Couple toppings if you have them. If not, it's a really good meal. I'm actually gonna have that for lunch today, I think. All right, so to seal this, you line up this little notch with the notch on the back. And if you can see, up here says sealing and down here says venting. So when you close it, you want to push it up so that it says sealing. And this little button is usually, it's depressed, it's sad, it's down until the pressure is reached. And once the pressure reaches in the pot, it pops up like this, so it's kind of flush with the top, and that's how you know that it achieved pressure. Hi, Darcy. So if anybody has questions about Instant Pot stuff, let me know. Drop it in the chat. I'll answer it now or later. But so I'm going to do 9 minutes on high pressure, but it's going to take more than 9 minutes because it needs to reach pressure. So, and that kind of varies depending on, I don't know, the mood of your Instant Pot, the amount of things that are inside of it. So it's closed, it's sealed, and then I'm gonna hit manual, and you want to make sure you hit adjust. You hit the plus button. You want high pressure 9 minutes. So once it's up to 9, you wait for it. There it goes. So now it's starting. Once it builds to pressure and that little button pops up, it'll cook for 9 minutes, and then I'm going to do what's called quick release. So there's natural release and quick release with the Instant Pot. Natural release means once the cooking time is done, you leave it alone by itself until that little button drops down, and that's how you know that the pressure's released and it's safe to open. Quick release is once the cooking finishes, you very carefully turn this knob from sealing to venting, and it like shoots out the steam, which is why this thing in theory was a good idea. It goes on here, you turn it, and then you can kind of aim the steam where you want it to go instead of into your cabinets. But I do this thing where I put a towel. It's not going to work for this angle, I don't think, but I usually hang a towel from these knobs right here, and I have it right underneath, so it kind of, the towel absorbs the steam. I don't know. It works for me, but okay. So the eggs are almost boiling. I'm going to turn a fan on, but if it's too loud, let me know and I'll turn it off. Just a little steamy in here. Okay, so my grandma, when she made this deviled egg recipe, used Miracle Whip, and then later on, I think when she and my grandpa were getting a little more health conscious, I mean, not super health conscious, but just low fat and all that kind of stuff, she was using Miracle Whip Light. I used to make them like that. She never measured anything, so I had to experiment. And I do have on my site, there's a recipe called Dressy Deviled Eggs, and that uses mayo. But the one I'm going to do today, I've subbed it out for Greek yogurt, and it really works well. And we realized, me and my husband were trying to figure out, like, there's something in Miracle Whip that makes it taste a little bit different than just regular mayo or Greek yogurt. And we realized a little bit of garlic powder is like, it's awesome with it. So there are two ways, in my opinion, to make your filling for your deviled eggs. One is in a bowl with a fork. You dump all your ingredients in here and you mash it. You just use the fork and you mash the egg yolks. Usually I mash the yolks first. You want them really fine. And then add the other ingredients, stir it in, and then fill it. But then I realized the food processor makes it way easier and it's smoother because I like to pipe my filling. It makes it look a little more elegant. It's like, there's all different kinds of tips that you can use. So it's kind of, it's prettier, but anyway you fill it, you can use a regular spoon. So I'm going to show you the food processor method, but just know you can do it also in a bowl, smashing it up, and that's totally fine. Let's see. So I've got my recipe. Sorry, I printed out my recipe because I'm not good with remembering them. I'm going to have fun garnishes that I'll show you some variations because you can really dress them up for parties. Oh, I've got a rolling boil. So I'm going to cover it, turn it off, and set a timer for 10 minutes. You can let it sit longer than that if you want, but 10 minutes is good. Alright, so I'm going to bring this over here, I guess. Like all of my gadgets. Like play kitchen Tetris to make things fit on camera. Not that there's much of my kitchen that you can't see on here, but my recipe says once we have the filling, we need a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of plain Greek yogurt. You can use whole milk, which I use. You can use low fat. It doesn't really matter. The whole milk is probably a little bit creamier, and it doesn't taste like Greek yogurt if you're one of those people who's not super into Greek yogurt. If anybody has any questions, also let me know, or has any thoughts on what they want to see next. I was going to have all of my measuring things out like I did last week, but things are a little crazy this week, and my my newsletter service was down. I was going to send a newsletter yesterday, and I wasn't able to, so that went out this morning. I finished it up. That's fine. If you aren't on my newsletter and you want to be, you can go on my site. It's bigflavorstinykitchen.com/subscribe, and that'll get you on my newsletter. I just realized, too, I didn't introduce myself. Those of you who know me, hi again. If you don't, my name is Ashley. I am not a professionally trained chef. I'm a food writer, recipe developer. I live in Ossining, New York, which is very close, as I said, to New York City. Oh, if you can see, it now says 9. Buttons up, it reached pressure. So it's, once it gets down to 0, it's going to be incredibly loudly over and over and over again to really make sure that you hear it. And that means it's ready to release the pressure. Hi, Carrie. Oh, Carrie. I went to high school with Carrie. Facebook is so great because I moved a lot as a kid, and I lived in the Midwest. And once I moved to New York, I really, like, you know, I don't see obviously my high school and college friends from Wisconsin or my elementary school friends from Indiana. I don't see them anymore. So it's really cool to be able to keep up with people and see their kids, and it's like just warm fuzzies. I love it. It's such a nice, like, for all the garbage in the world, there's really some great things with technology. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so I have a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons, like an eggshell popping in there. A 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of Greek yogurt, 2 teaspoons of white vinegar, just distilled white vinegar. When I make the filling, I usually, after it's ready, I taste it. Sometimes it needs a little more sugar, sometimes it needs a little more vinegar. Hi, Yvette! Oh, man! So many of you that I haven't seen in forever. Well, since I have some local people here, quick programming note, without getting too sad about it, but my dear friend Tony Pax passed away last year. He had a brain tumor. It was really, really awful. He was a phenomenal musician. And next Saturday, I think it's the 16th, something like that, there's a memorial show for him at Fulgham's in Montrose. It's like all the bands he's ever played with, of which my husband was in like 8 of them, and we're going to be, you know, just celebrating what an awesome dude he was and probably crying, hi, Tina. So, yeah, he was a good dude. It was very tragic, and actually, I have this was him. This was a picture from his wedding. He would have been 37 on Halloween, so enough of the sad stuff, but he was a very special person, and yeah. Anyway, okay, so we got 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of Greek yogurt, 2 teaspoons of white vinegar, a tablespoon of yellow mustard. When I do like a French inspired version, I'll use Dijon, and I'm shaking it because if you've never experienced an unshaken bottle of mustard, when you go to pour it in, it's like this liquid grossness. It ain't for me, so pardon me. Do you guys remember the Grey Poupon commercials from like the 90s, I guess, where people would go up and roll down the window of the limo and be like, pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon? Because one time, me and my mom were driving near a high school in town in Indiana, and there was these two people randomly sitting on a couch that was on the curb outside of a Dairy Queen, between the high school and Dairy Queen. No idea why, but we rolled up to them and I rolled down the window and said, "Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?" And they probably thought I was crazy, but it was fun. We laughed about it. It was great. So I always think of her when I think of Grey Poupon, and I always think of my dad, if I may, also. This at the bus stop for my son for school, there have been squirrels going crazy, and they are chasing each other. And so me and my son now, one of the little like games we play is, can you guess what the squirrels are thinking? So today we thought that they were playing hide and seek. They were chasing each other, but I did. He doesn't have Facebook, but he watches later either here or on YouTube. So I think of him whenever I see squirrels. Random, not related to cooking, but he also loves deviled eggs. Okay, so 5 minutes left on these, 3.5 minutes left on the stovetop ones. And once they come out, I'm gonna put them in a bowl of cold water. Since I'm doing this for you, and I wanna try to do it as quickly as possible, I'm gonna throw some ice in the bowl also to just chill them down faster. And since I'm gonna be serving them later, they're gonna go in the fridge and it'll be fine. But sometimes I'll put them in cold water and let them just sit there and kind of chill a bit while I'm eating lunch or whatever. And also, one note for the Instant Pot is if you get farm fresh eggs, a lot of times if you hard boil them, they're really difficult to peel. If you pressure cook them, either in an Instant Pot or like a stovetop pressure cooker, a lot of times the shells peel off a lot easier, which is great. Because that's also why sometimes I throw in a couple extra eggs, because it takes the same amount of time whether you're cooking 1 or like 20. And once you peel the shells off, if it sticks and they're kind of like funky looking, like craters, they're not so pretty. They're still delicious though, and those are good ones to QC. So, oh, what are you guys doing this weekend while I get my garnishes? Hi, April. Oh, my lives. So, knives. This is actually, it's Epicurean. It's a knife rack. I see most people put them like this, and I'm sure they won't fall. They like to grab them this way, but just in case, God forbid, one falls, I think it's a little safer this way because the heavy handle's up top. But, and it has just enough clearance with my microwave to not knock it. Like, we had to very much plan that out. Although, when I got this knife, which is, this is for, like, filleting meat, like carving meat. It's a carving knife. When I got this, it's a little longer than the one I used to have, and it lived here, but then my husband went to open the microwave one day, and when he went to close it, he went like this, and it just, like, impaled him a little bit. He's fine. He's a musician. He still has all his digits, which is good. So yeah, I love that. It keeps them out of the way, and I just, after I use a knife, I wipe it with a towel to dry it off, and I hang it up because don't submerge, especially like a good knife, don't submerge it in water. If you can't clean it right away, just leave it out on your cutting board, and when you're able to clean it, dry it off, and put it up there. I've read things about the wooden, you know, those like knife blocks that you slide the knives into and then set them on the counter. I've read that they can like hold bacteria. I don't know how true that is, but I don't have counter space anyway. Get a new set of knives, but I don't want to spend a fortune. Yeah, I'll put them in I made a Facebook Live specific product recommendations section on my Amazon shop, which is, if you don't know, it's just a place where I put things that I recommend or that I use. If you go there, you can see the things that I like or that I'm using during my demos or on my site. I've been placing them there forever. And so if you buy one of the things from my link, I get like 2 pennies, which is awesome because 2 pennies times enough people and I can buy a coffee, which is great. So I will put the knives that I recommend in the Facebook Live section. They're definitely in my product recommendations general page there, but You put mine through the dishwasher. I wouldn't. I mean, a good knife is like worth taking care of, and then you don't have to buy them frequently. I'm gonna put some ice in here. Part of me, because my freezer is on the floor over here. A good knife, I mean, there are knives that aren't crazy expensive, but if you keep it sharp, ooh, my Instant Pot's done too. If you keep them sharp, they will last you a very long time. All right, so as you can see, it now says L and a bunch of zeros. It's done cooking, the beeping happened. If I were to leave this, these numbers will start counting up. It's on keep warm now. So if I'm upstairs and I come down, it says L004, that means it's been done cooking, sitting on keep warm for 4 minutes. Okay, so this is done. I'm gonna see if I can absorb some of the steam. It's like a different angle than I usually use. Let's see. Very carefully pull this to venting. It's like releases steam up there. I use, most of my knives are Henkel's, and I actually get them at the annual warehouse sale, which is coming up next month, because they have a warehouse a couple towns over from me in Pleasantville, New York. I actually got a flyer about it recently. I need to add it to my calendar. But before that, my mother-in-law had gotten me a set called Tools of the Trade. Like when we first moved here, it's like my first set of knives. And so this is one of the old ones. I keep it for when my father-in-law comes to cook with me. So like this is from Tools of the Trade. That was a Macy's brand. Not as expensive as a Henkel's knife, which is like this. Well, all the ones all these three, this one and this long one, are all from Henkel's. They make really, really good knives. I know Wusthof is a good one. Global. There's a lot of different brands for knives. Okay, so I have some ice in here. I'm putting cold water in it. You can see this now says L002, so it's been sitting for 2 minutes since it's been off. A little like steam bath going on there. And then I like using, it came with this little, so it comes with, the Instant Pot comes with 2 little things. This one is a rice paddle, and I way too late after using them realized this little bit right here, this little like ledge, if you set it down, it hovers above, so it doesn't touch, like it's its own spoon rest. And I was just like, that's fantastic. So I like using this to kind of fish them out. Put them in the bowl of ice water. So you see this without me spilling it? So I got eggs, ice water. This is just to cool them down quickly. You don't have to use ice. You can just let them go under cold running water. You can set them in cold water for however long. You could also, once you cool them, like don't put them in the fridge hot, but you could cool them down and put them back in the fridge. I have like I used it last week on my live. I have a little mini egg carton that fits in with my 18 pack of eggs in the refrigerator, you know, that shelf that's for eggs. And I usually have a little 6-pack full of either hard or soft boiled eggs or both. And what I do is I cool them down, and so that I don't forget, I'll take like a pencil or a Sharpie after I dry it off, and I'll write an S for soft boiled or an H for hard boiled, and I put them there, and that way I know the difference between the cooked and uncooked eggs. If you want to play a trick on somebody, like for April Fool's Day, something that I did to my mom as a kid, I'm sure she loves that I am telling people to do this, but it was very funny. She used to make the boxed blueberry muffin mixes, and I asked her to make them for me on April 1st. It just happened to be weekend, and I was like, oh, I'm really in the mood for some blueberry muffins. Would you make some for me? Yeah, sure, okay. So she goes in and she takes the eggs out of the fridge because it's like, add oil and eggs and water or whatever. And yes, you do need an Instant Pot of it. So she goes to crack the egg into the mix, and it was hard boiled. And she's like, this is weird. So it was just kind of like, instead of cracking, and so she grabs another one, same thing. I did the whole dozen. It wasn't very nice, but I mean, it was a harmless joke, and I think I ended up making muffins for her later. Like I walked down to the store and got new eggs, but it was fun. All right, so eggs are cooling, and what I'll do too sometimes is like, it's been sitting for a minute, the water's getting a little bit warm, so I'll just go ahead and like kind of dump some of it off. Hang on. Dino, please don't play that right now. My husband's playing music upstairs, which is great, and maybe one day he can like acoustically play while I'm doing this, but you guys don't need to hear that right now. Okay, so I'll like pour off the hot water and just put a fresh batch of cold on it, and just change it out a few times, like especially if I'm doing other things. Multitasking. Okay. So actually, I'm gonna let this sit for another minute while I get the rest of the stuff in here. So I actually got my Instant Pot for Christmas a couple years ago. I asked for it, and my husband was like, we don't need that. We have a slow cooker. We have a pressure cooker. I was like, I know, but I really think that it's going to be like, I had heard such good things, and I use it multiple times per week still. There's some gadgets that I don't use very often, but that one I definitely do. Okay. So, Greek yogurt, white vinegar, yellow mustard, 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. My grandma never used kosher salt because, was that a thing back in the day? I feel like that's kind of a new thing. And again, I like mixing it now in a food processor just because it makes it really, really smooth and creamy, and it's easier to pipe. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm using these magnetic measuring spoons again. It's nice to keep the whole set together. Garlic powder, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of fresh cracked black pepper. I don't even know that she put pepper in when she did it. You could also use already ground. I just tend to use this stuff. Okay, and a teaspoon of granulated sugar. So when she would make it with Miracle Whip, I feel like it was already kind of sweet, because I think Miracle Whip has sugar in it, or corn syrup or something. So when I was figuring out how to make her version, we found a teaspoon for a dozen eggs is a good amount of sweetness. And if it's too sweet later, we'll add more vinegar or salt or mustard. Let's see if there's any more questions. How do I know this is really live? Yeah, because I'm telling my husband to stop playing music. I love that he plays music. And my 6-year-old, who's going to be 7 on Thanksgiving, and I can't, I'm like having all the feels right now, but he started taking piano lessons, and he is doing so well. Like, he definitely takes after Dad. So I'm just gonna move my Instant Pot so I can have a little more room to cut the eggs over here. And I'm not gonna leave it on my stovetop because if you look online, there's a lot of people who've had issues because they forgot and they set it on the stovetop, or that's where they set it up while it was cooking and then they turned it on and ruined their Instant Pot. Alright, so feature of my food processor that wasn't on my old one, but this one, the cord stashes inside of it. It like keeps things really nice and neat, which I so appreciate. Especially when I have a lot of appliances and gadgets and stuff, so I like that. Alright, so I have everything except the egg yolks in here for now. So I'm going to take my eggs and crack, and this is where it would be great if somebody else was here to help me crack those, but I won't make my husband do it. He actually has to leave soon. I don't know if he realizes what time it is, but what is the saying? Not my circus, not my monkeys. Any other questions? While I'm peeling these, I should have kept them separate so you could see the difference between Instant Pot and stovetop peeled eggs, but when I peel them, I'll peel them and then I'll put them back in the bowl of cold water because there's often like a couple little shells, and then I rinse them off later and dry them. So I'm putting it back in with all the whole eggs. And does anybody have any questions while I'm sitting here peeling 1 dozen eggs? Because I'm quick, but I'm not quite that quick, and I don't want them to get all jagged looking. Or I guess I can tell you my thoughts for next week's live. I should be able to be here again Friday at 10. I'm thinking of either I'll do a vote on Instagram and Facebook like I did last time. So my thoughts are one of 2 recipes. One is another appetizer recipe. It's garlicky goat cheese and herb stuffed peppadews, which are, it's like a type of pepper. They're these little red peppers. They're round and they're like sweet but a little spicy. I think you can actually get spicier ones too. So that's one thought. And then my other thought is falafel, make sure I get the name right, falafel spiced chickpea flatbreads, which are one of the recipes I came up with as a way to use up some leftover tzatziki, which is that like Greek yogurt cucumber sauce. And it's a really quick recipe to make, especially if you have tzatziki already or buy store-bought. So those are my 2 thoughts. Feel free to chime in. I'll post a poll later. Look, like this deviled egg, the yolk was real, or this regular egg, the yolk was really close to the surface, so it like came through. I don't know that I've seen that before, but I'll probably just cut it like this way, so that's on the edge, or I'll eat it and save it so my in-laws don't have to suffer through an ugly egg. So yeah, I usually like tap and roll a little bit. Some people roll it really hard and then they kind of melt off. I've never been able to find a consistent way to make sure that the eggshells come off clean every single time. Like there's a lot of, see, like this one is like sticking a little. It's like kind of, dang. That's why I like having extras. So I'm gonna plan to put 8 of the full eggs, so 16 in the little to-go container to bring to my in-laws today, and then have the rest with lunch maybe. Hi, Scott. Scott is also in bands with my husband, and he's a firefighter in Times Square, and he's awesome, and his wife cooks some really great stuff too. Oh, you're with Chef Eric at the Firehouse. Hi, guys. I'm sure, appreciate you guys. I know Scott's cooked some of my recipes for the crew. Look at this awful, like, this was all the same batch of eggs too. And also, fresh eggs are said to be harder to peel pretty. So if you happen to have eggs that are a little older, they'll probably work better. I don't know what that one was all about, but anyway. Missed the part about other substitutions if you're not a fan of Greek yogurt. Well, I will tell you, it doesn't taste like Greek yogurt. You could probably use regular plain yogurt. Make sure you're using plain, not vanilla, because the packages are very similar. I have a recipe on my site. If you look under dressy deviled eggs, the filling's pretty similar, but it uses mayo. I use that instead of mayo just because. There's some people who don't like mayo, like my friend Donna. She doesn't like mayo, and we went to a party at her boyfriend's parents' house, and I was like, oh, I'll bring deviled eggs, and she's like, ah, she was so excited when she found out there were no mayo deviled eggs, because some people are like real mayo haters. Yeah, so is anybody that's in this area of New York going out for Hudson Valley Restaurant Week? Because they call it Restaurant Week, but it's too. This egg is bad too, my gosh. Okay. There's like, so what it is, if you're not familiar, they have all the participating local restaurants for a week or two have specials where you can get a price fixed 3-course lunch or dinner, and lunch is like, say $20 and dinner is $30, but it's a way to like, you get like an appetizer, entree, and dessert, and they have special menus, and it's a really cool way to try out new restaurants. It's egg. Well, you can see it, they're not always perfect. Like, look at this. It's a sad little egg. I got 3 more in here. 4. So it's a really cool way to try out new restaurants, or like to go to your favorites that maybe are not something you can afford to go to all the time, or just a way to like sample multiple courses off a menu. And it's great, like we're going out with my supper club tonight and to one of the restaurants nearish, a couple towns over here, and we all order different things so that we can all like taste each other's, and people who share food are the best people, in my opinion. And if you don't want to share, that's fine, but it might give you some side eye. Me and my husband always order, like we won't order the same entree or appetizer when we're out because we want to be able to try more and share. So yeah, I went to here in town in Ossining, Brothers Fish and Chips Friday with my in-laws and my son. And if you haven't been there and you're local, hi Trina, Supper Club. Okay, hi Casey and Sandy. Okay, so if you haven't tried Brothers Fish and Chips, it doesn't sound, the name of it doesn't sound like what it is. This place is like, they have amazing fish and chips. It used to be, when I moved to Ossining, it was called Lonnie's Fish and Chips, and the fish was awesome. The fries were like a little soft. It was fine, but the fish was awesome. So I have to say awesome about a lot of stuff, and that bothers some people, but you won't crush my enthusiasm. So brothers, it's these 2 brothers, Elmer and Kevin, and they took over a couple years ago. I want to say maybe 2 years ago at this point, and they are like, I feel like they're 2 years ahead of where Ossining is in the food scene, because like we're like, they have ceviche, they do octopus, they still do awesome fish and chips. Their fries are incredible. They do tasting menus. They use produce from local farms. They do events where they pair like seafood and beer or seafood and wine, and you get a whole education about the different wines. They did one of the coolest ones I went to was a seafood and wine pairing, and wine and seafood and art. So they had someone talk about all the different wines, and then there was local artists whose work was on display, and they paired each course. You got your wine course, and then the artists would talk about their work. And I went to school for art, so it was like, and obviously I love food, so it was just really cool. They're doing some really great stuff, and they've recently like revamped their cocktail menu. Kim and I did by accident last year, did the same thing with sharing. Yes, I know, it's great when you happen upon restaurant week, right? I won't tell your boss that you're watching from work. Okay, supper club. I'm gonna, someone asked about my supper club. Just while, I'll talk about that while I just pat these dry. And then I'm gonna cut them in half and pop the yolks into the food processor. So, when I cut them in half, I'll put them in, well, I have a dozen. I'm gonna put some of them in this one, and I'll put some in I'll put the uglier ones in my other tray. So, okay. I don't need this bowl. I wasn't sure if I was going to also mix some for hand by you guys, but you just mash it with a fork. You don't really need to see that. 121 restaurant is great for Hudson Valley Restaurant Week. Where is that one? We're going somewhere in Yorktown Heights tonight, somewhere that I've been wanting to try for a long time. And look, perfect. I don't know. If you overcook them, it's fine because you won't really be able to tell, but sometimes you get like that little gray ring around the outside, but these are gorgeous. So you just take them upside down, very gently push because you don't want to break through the white. So just kind of plop. And then I'll go ahead and start lining them up in my tray. And I'm going to check in on the chat for a minute here while I have a little bit more coffee because that's cold. Which restaurant in Yorktown Heights? I will tell you later. Not that I think anybody's going to like show up, but somewhere I haven't tried before. I'm gonna microwave this. So my supper club started because years ago, I saw a special on TV about supper clubs, and it's these groups that get together once a month and they cook around a theme. And I was like, that's really cool. At the time, I was living with my in-laws before, when I had first moved to New York, before my husband and I moved to Ossining and were married and everything. So I was like, huh. So they had recommended that Cooking Light bulletin boards, rest in peace, no longer around. That's where people were finding each other to join these clubs. So you can see last week that was an oven. This week I'm using it as a microwave. So I went on and I found a group nearby that was searching for new members, but it was like a little crazy until after we like got into our own kitchen. I couldn't do it from my in-laws' kitchen. So once I moved here, we ended up joining, and we get together. It's us and two other couples that I didn't know previously. So, you know, strangers on the internet can be really great. I swear I'm not a stalker. I don't think you're a stalker. I just, you know, I don't need to announce it, because what if it's awful? I won't talk about it. If it's great, I'll talk about it next week, because I think Restaurant Week goes until probably goes through next weekend, but I'm not 100% sure. All right, so this one's a little bit cracked, so I'm going to put it in my other tray. Sounds like someone's using power tools outside in my complex. Sorry. Okay, so it's two other couples, so there's 6 of us, and the way we do it is we schedule out like 2 or 3 months in advance, because everybody's busy. At this point, everybody has kids. So you can see, I don't know if this was the Instant Pot or the stovetop, but they're all looking perfect inside. I'm so cute. Pampered Chef Cheese Shredder. I don't know what that is. Drop a link later if you want. I'm curious what that is. Not that I need another gadget, but oh, is it like one of those sieves that you just kind of push it through and it like, because I've seen salads where you do that with a sieve and you push the eggs through and it makes this like gorgeous like fluffy pile of yolks. Anyway, so we get together once a month. Usually, sometimes like stuff's just too hectic, like in the summer, but we try to do once a month, and we have a theme every month. So some themes that we've done are Chinese, restaurant copycat recipes. We've done colors, like the first one I went to was orange, so everything, you could take it literally, you could take it either way. It could either mean orange ingredients, the color, orange the food, the fruit. So I made these biscuits with like a honey orange zest butter, and we also made, because I made my husband join with me, because I was like, these people could be insane from the internet. I don't know them, but like you're gonna do this with me. The other thing I made was a Tyler Florence recipe for, I think they were Thai style chicken wings. They're like, I had made them before. They were really good. But the way we do it now is we usually try to do new recipes because it's fun, and we're all, you know, pretty well versed in the kitchen at this point. And one of the members, he's a phenomenal baker. Like, I can't even tell you. He should be doing that professionally, but you know, it's hard. Where was I talking about him? Anyway, this is one of my little sad eggs. Oh, another thing, when you're cutting the eggs, if you put the knife through and you kind of pinch the sides together and slide the knife out, the knife will come out clean, versus what I used to do. Oh, I just cracked this one. What I used to do was cut it like this, like cut it down and then lift it out. That wasn't so bad, but the knife kind of gets gunky and then you have to keep cleaning it off. But if you slide it out, a lot of times it looks a little better. Oh, really sad. So yeah, we cook once a month. Then some months, like this month, since it happens to be Restaurant Week, we're gonna go out. And every December, just since the holidays are so crazy, we do a homemade cookie, and it has now evolved to a homemade cookie and candy swap. So, and we go out. So generally, once a month, I have an epic 6-dish, not really course, but 6-dish meal that I only had to cook 1 or 2 of because my husband cooks also, and he's gotten really into it now. I think each of the couples, when they started, kind of, they didn't necessarily love, or one of the members was like, they were just kind of there, like, to make sure no one was a stalker or serial killer. But it evolved, and everybody's super into it now. Last month we had a German-themed meal, and we hosted, so we rotate houses. So, like, last month we hosted at our house. Whoever hosts makes the 2 main, or makes the main, like, meat, or, like, sometimes the theme is vegetarian, so the main type of dishes, and then everybody else will chime in and say, like, oh, I'm going to bring a salad, or I'm going to bring a vegetable dish, or I'm going to bring dessert. That way we don't have repeats. And the hosts always also usually do a cocktail or some on-theme beverage. So like last year I had found a Pinot Noir from Germany, a white one and a red one that we had, and I had some German beers also. Okay. And just make sure I have everything in here before I mix it. So, 12 hard-boiled egg yolks, 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of plain Greek yogurt, 2 teaspoons white vinegar, a tablespoon of yellow mustard, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of crushed pepper, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. All right, so now we're gonna blitz it. Blitz. I've heard that word before. I don't know. So then I usually will scrape down the edges so that I can make sure everything is getting mixed up, because when you're using the piping little thing that I like to use, it gets clogged, and then I use a chopstick to like poke the chunks out of the hole, but you can't really overmix it. So at this point, filling looks like that, and I will just taste it. It's pretty good. If it was a little too sweet, I'd add more mustard or vinegar or salt or a combination. If it was too salty, I'd add a little touch more sugar. And if it was too thick, I would add a little bit more Greek yogurt or, again, one of the other ingredients. You don't want it to be too thin or you can't scoop or pipe it. So I'm going to show you how to use 2 different ways to fill them. If you want me to show you how to use a zip top bag and cut the corner off to pipe, let me know in the chat and I can show you that. Hi, Charlie. Charlie's like my #1 fan. I'm so sad I missed him last time he and his kids were in town because I had strep or something. So one method is a regular spoon, and that's fine. Another method is a little scoop. You can use these for like cookie dough or stuff, and you just kind of line it up on top and go like that, and then it looks really pretty and perfect, and they'll look consistent. I like for eggs, if I'm going to use a scoop, which is what I did for the longest time before I got this little squeezy bottle. This is, let me see what number it is. I have a bunch of different sized scoops at home. If you look on the inside along the little, like, see that little piece, that's what clears the stuff off. There's a number. So this one is a number, this one's OXO number 60, and then in parentheses it says 2 teaspoons. So this is a 2 teaspoon scoop. It's a good size for eggs. So that's one method. And you can do that. And they look pretty, and it's easy. And you don't have to worry about if there's like some chunks that wouldn't fit through your bottle. So if you're going to use a piping bag, use a pastry bag, Again, you can use a Ziploc, and what you would do, I don't think I'll demonstrate it unless somebody really wants me to, and then I will, because I don't like to waste bag if I don't have to. Put your filling in here or a smaller sandwich bag, put it in, kind of nestle it down into the corner, and just take the end and just just snip a little tiny bit, and then when you turn it upside down, you're just like, and you make the sound effect like I did, and it'll happen. So that's another way to do it if you don't have a piping bag of your own. All right, so I think that's good on the scooping method. I'll show you the piping method, which is what I really like to do, especially, I mean, if you bring these, they're not hard to make, and if you bring them to a party or something, and they're piped, it just looks really impressive, and you can really have fun with the garnishes. I am gonna have to pull them out because I was running a little behind this morning, so again, I had to get my newsletter out. Okay, so this is a silicone. It's meant, I got it from OXO. I did this Good Cookie campaign one year. They do Cookies for Kids Cancer every year, so I got this actually for free, but I would totally buy it. And I asked them if they can make taller ones because I have to refill it a bunch of times. I use it for decorating. I use it for frosting cupcakes. And it's just got a little ring, and then this thing right here secures the tip on. I'm using like a little kind of star tip. I'm sure there's this is a number 32. I don't know if that's standard on all brands or just OXO, but so I'm using that tip because I like how it looks, but it comes with a whole bunch of tips, and I think you can also use other pastry tips if they fit. So just take the eggshell. I'm gonna do it in the tray, but just so you can see better. And you just kind of go around like that. It looks cool with like a round tip also because just kind of like fluffy mound of filling. Oh, and one of the coolest deviled egg things I've ever seen, because I love deviled eggs. Like, I can go to town on some deviled eggs. One of the coolest deviled egg recipes ever. Jacques Pepin, if you aren't familiar with him, you are missing out, and you have a wealth of resources that you now know about that you can check out. He's a chef. He had a cooking show on PBS, I think, that I used to watch as a kid with my mom and with my grandparents, and with my grandma who made deviled eggs all the time. I have a recipe from him in a cookbook I have called Mom's Secret Recipe File, and it's one that I had picked up from the library, and I liked it so much I ended up buying it. And it's all these famous chefs sharing recipes from their moms or recipes that they grew up with, and it's so cool. And so Jacques Pepin, one of his recipes is pan-crisped deviled eggs on a salad. So he has you make deviled eggs with his recipe, and then I'll just demonstrate on this one. So he has you then take the egg and you flatten it like that so it's flush with the surface of the egg, and you take a frying pan and you put it upside down in the frying pan, yolk side down, and you fry it, and it gets it's gorgeous and delicious, and even better, because deviled egg filling is so delicious, he has you take a little bit of the filling and make the vinaigrette for the salad greens with it. So you reserve I can't remember how much, but a little bit of the filling, and it's delicious. His recipes are so good. And what I really liked about him is that he, yes, he's this incredible French chef and he's got so many years of experience, but he doesn't make you feel awkward or less than or intimidated. He really genuinely enjoys cooking and teaching people how to cook. All right, so these are done for now. So you can see these are the ones that I did with the scoop, and then the swirly, and then that's the one that I flattened. I have just a couple more on this tray. Yeah, one of my favorite Jacques Pepin moments was there was an episode, he cooked with Julia Child. There was a show called Jacques and Julia. And then he also had some where he would cook with his daughter Claudette. And in one of the episodes, he had a glass of wine. And he was drinking it, and he had the bottle. And he was like using some of the wine in his dish. And he goes, he used the rest of the bottle. And he was like, we need a little more. So sometimes I like to use, and he takes the dish over to the sink, and he goes, I like to use Chateau Falset. And he's French, and the accent, and just, it was great. It made me laugh. All right, so I'm just gonna do this for the last couple, just because I want to. I've already been going for an hour. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry guys, I'm so chatty. It doesn't take an hour to make these. And you can also hard boil your eggs ahead of time, and then they're ready, and you can just, the day of, you just decorate them. So, all right, are there any more questions? Not yet. All right, I'm gonna get a couple garnishes. The classic would be paprika. So that's what makes them double. So you just do a little sprinkle of paprika on top. This is a fun job for kids. My grandma one time accidentally used nutmeg. I don't recommend doing that. It did not taste very good. Just also note, this will be available on replay, and I'll upload it to YouTube afterward, just like last week's. So if you had to run or you want to fast forward to the decorating. Let's see, is the light blocking? Let's see if I can get a better angle for that. All right, well, I'll try. Okay. Just gonna grab a couple toppers. These little French pickles that I like to use. I like to slice them in half and kind of set them in there. They're called cornichons, but I have to dig through my fridge for those. One thing that I like to do, if you don't want just the classic deviled egg, is a little bit of radish. So you just kind of cut the ends off, cut it in half, and you can either do matchsticks, or I like doing these kind of little like thin half moons. So then you have a little tiny pop of color, and you can stick it right in there. What's that? It's look pretty. I also a drizzle of hot sauce or sriracha would be good on here. Capers would probably be good. I've actually, once I did bacon jam inside of the bottom of the base before I filled them. That was really good. So I got those on there, and I'm gonna do some pea shoots on the other, just because they're pretty. These are pea shoots. They kind of taste like, they're like crunchy like sprouts. They're like really fresh, and they look really pretty. Put them on. So, do a little of that. You could just tear off the top bit. Don't waste that. Like, put that in with some salad greens or something. But just find them pretty ones. Capers would be good on here. You could do a mix of things. You could cut some bacon and just like pop a little pieces of bacon sticking out, or tomatoes and bacon, and do kind of like a BLT situation. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do it. I'm bummed that I didn't have the pickles that I wanted to show you, but they're on one of my posts, and I'll put a link in there so you can see. All right, last one. And you can also, like, don't think you only have to do one garnish on each. Like, you could do more than one. So you could put, like, I've done like a radish and a pea shoot. One of the other ways I like to do the radishes instead of half moons is little matchsticks. So you just kind of cut it, cutting it like this, and then you stack it back up and then cut that way. So you get these little matchstick kind of shapes. And if you make these, please tag me on social media. Do hashtag #CookBigFlavors. I'd love to see them. And I'm at Big Flavors pretty much everywhere on social media except Twitter. I'm Big Flavors blog because somebody's squatting on at Big Flavors, which is fine. So yeah, so you can see you can do like 2. I guess I could actually like pick the egg up and show you. So you could do like 2 different garnishes. So it's got the paprika, a little of that, and a little of that, and that is it. Let me see if there's any more questions. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will post a poll later today about next week's live, hopefully same place, same time, 10 a.m. Fridays. And the replay will be available soon. Hi replay viewers if you're watching later. And hi to the YouTube viewers if you're watching this later on YouTube. You can subscribe and get notifications. I don't know where it puts the box, but we'll just cover all the bases. Yeah. I hope you all have an awesome weekend, and thank you for joining me. Bye.